All right, let's start off just with some injury updates. Junior Azebu will be day to day, still fighting his way back with some soreness in his lower body. Leighton Nelson got some work today. He's also day to day questionable. Both those guys questionable for Saturday, but Leighton is progressing back. Darren Agu is back, was full go today and had a good day. Patrick Smith, I know, missed a little time on Saturday. He's fine. Did everything as normal today, and Ricky Wright is feeling better. Still day to day, questionable for Saturday, but feel good about the way he's progressing, and he's going to do some jogging this afternoon, and we'll keep working him back as he's able. And so, obviously, we're happy to be 2-0, happy to be coming off a hard-fought win where felt like we battled some adversity and we were able to play to an identity there at the finish. I love the way that we finished the game in the second half. Obviously, the big charge, early on for the defense was about third down stops in that first drive, but I think it's good for us to have to fight through a long drive. I was proud of the way the guys stood up and held Alabama A&M to 3. In the second half, obviously, the one explosive pass we want back. But a good learning moment for us. Offensively, just struggled a little bit to get in rhythm. I thought hot and cold in the first half. But obviously, I think came out in the second half and played with confidence and had fun playing too. So, if we're going to want to win a game this weekend, we got to protect the ball. That's going to be really important. Make good decisions with the ball at the quarterback position. Turnovers will be a key point of emphasis, and we're going to have to play complementary football. This is a good team we're playing against. This Wake Forest has kind of been the standard bearer for developmental programs. Dave Clawson, as good as they come with respect to having an identity, playing to a strategy, and growing a program there the same way we are here. And got a ton of respect for him, obviously, as a mentor and a friend. And excited to compete with them. Obviously, we were disappointed with the game we played a year ago. But, we're going to have to go down and play good football to have a chance to win a game on the road. With that, I'm happy to open up for questions.
How do you plan to game plan against Mitch Griffiths and this offense, this slow mesh where the Vanderbilt defense was really annihilated in the second half of the game last year?
Not to speak to the second half of that, I think the slow mesh is challenging because they separate your levels. And so I felt like in design last year, we left our corners out a little bit and didn't do enough to protect them. We're gonna want to do that. This is a team that thrives on the big play pass, and we've struggled with that. And so, we're gonna have to keep the ball inside in front, limit their explosives. Certainly, we're looking for no explosive touchdowns. It's Mitch is a good player, and similar to last year, going into this game, we were unsure who we were going to see. We ended up seeing Hartman. I said this a year ago. This is a system that we're playing against, not just a player. And the system's challenging. Warren Ruggiero does a great job with it. In the same way the triple option's unique, the slow mesh is a unique style of offense. And so it's about keeping your layers intact. It's about keeping body on body down the field. It's about capping the big play and keeping someone on top. We can't let them behind us, and I think in design we have to do a good job of designing success into the scheme and making sure that we're not undressing guys and leaving them in tough one-on-ones. The other thing about a year ago is, we got to protect the ball on offense. We can't give them more possessions. We got to fight for field position. Those things matter too. And so I don't see it as just the Vanderbilt defense. I see it as our team against their team and the need to play complementary in all three phases. That means all three phases are working hard to score points, which is important against a team that scores points at the rate that Wake Forest does. It means all three phases are working to limit points, which is important, obviously, because this is a potent offense we're playing against. And I think we've shown flashes of interlock play. I think we've shown strength in special teams. Field position will be at a premium. Like I said, ball security at a premium. But certainly when it comes to playing defense, we're going to have to keep them out of the end zone when it comes to explosive plays, and force them to fight for every blade of grass on the field, which is the goal.
The injured defensive linemen like Linus Zunk and Christian James, how are they?
Linus is back. He'll be back with us this weekend. He's working his way back in practice now. Christian's still probably a week or two off. He's yet to re-enter practice, but he's trending the right way, and we'll be excited to get him back in the near future.
You just talked about it being a system offense, and it didn't really differ between the quarterbacks much. But are there any distinctions you can make in seeing Hartman run it and seeing Griffiths run it?
I mean, they're very similar players. They'll take the risks. They'll take their shots. I mean, obviously, if you look at their game from Saturday, they got over the top of Elon to the tight end for a touchdown. They threw an uncovered receiver for the first touchdown. They hit, like a go ball to the field twice, one for a touchdown. So similar to the way Sam played. I mean, Mitch is confident. He makes decisions rapidly. He knows where his matchups are, and I think he's impressive that way. There's subtle differences in when they run, how they run. How late they will get the ball out. I think one thing we saw last year was just late down success for them. You were just. There was nothing that kept Sam Hartman from at the end of the snap, right as pressure was getting there, whipping the ball out to the flat. And I think Mitch has got a knack for when to tuck the ball down and run it. We're going to have to be in heightened awareness that way. But the big plays are still there in the same places. X post, it's the glances on both sides. Again, the field go, and those are things we're going to have to defend well, again, to put our team in the best position to win.
Knowing that this is a game that you're probably going to have to score a lot of points, what do you need to see from AJ this week?
Just like I said, there's nothing more than routine plays, small things done well, and good decisions with the ball. What we can't do is give them extra possessions. We can't give them field position. That was one thing that hurt us a year ago. We have to be willing to take what they give us, get the ball out and in play to our playmakers. And in that sense, I just expect the same thing that I expect from them every week. And with respect to scoring points, I think it's all a matter of how well you can play in terms of the complementary nature of your game, because we're certainly not going out there just to get into a shootout and outscore them. We have to be willing to be patient on defense, build to the stop. Like I said, the biggest thing there is not allowing for big play touchdowns. We have to fight for field position and special teams, and we've done that to this point. And then offensively, it's about being willing to be methodical in our drives and being really good on conversion downs. So not looking for a performance out of character from him. If anything, I'd like to see him take another step in the right direction, which with respect to the way he makes decisions with the ball and his ball security, and just facilitating the offense and the other 10 players on the field.
You mentioned the special teams a little bit, knowing that special teams have really helped the first couple weeks. What are you expecting to see there?
Just continued focus. I think we benefited from the building out of our depth, adding skill. We're faster on our teams. That's both in the return game, but also physical and the way we're blocking for the returns. And against Alabama A&M, benefited from 2 blocked punts. We want continued execution there, and we want that unit to be a place where we shine and try to create an advantage for ourselves. Again, when you're playing against a team like Wake Forest, who's really good in all 3 phases, you have to have wins in the margins, and that's what special teams does for you. And so we'll expect that this weekend as well.
You got Jeffrey Ugo back for a little bit on Saturday. You'll have Darren available for the first time, I guess, this week. As you get guys back, how does that change and help your defense?
Well, we want to focus on, I talked about this a little bit heading into last week, playing more guys. I think when you have healthy people, capable people, I was glad to see Bryce Cowan get out there a little bit early against Alabama A&M. We think he can bring something to our defense and on special teams. Obviously, Jeff Ugo, we knew was going to be available. We weren't going to have a lot of snaps for him in the game just because he hadn't really had a chance to practice and build his capacity, but he came in and had a positive impact on the game. The more guys you play, the more they're engaged with what you're doing, but also the fresher, that first line of guys can be. And when you can take 20 snaps off a guy like C.J. Taylor over the course of 3 games, that's a game that he banks, that taking snaps and taking reps off his body physically. And if we want to be a great team late in the season, we have to put the guys on the field and play the guys that are capable of helping us win now. And certainly when you talk about Darren and Linus and Jeff and, like I said, Bryce Cowan, we think those are guys that we can count on to help us win. So they should be out there. Again, if that's 5 snaps, if it's 10, if it's 15, if it's 20, any little bit helps us stay fresh for the entirety of the game and obviously for the season too.
How would you evaluate the offensive line 2 games in?
Thought I saw some positive things last week. The first week 1, I felt like there were things that we needed to do in protection that I felt like we fell short there a little bit, and I thought Hawaii was able to shorten it down on us. I think last week I saw better cohesive work. Again, that was a game where we basically wiped out our right tackle depth and had Grayson Morgan step in, and I thought he did a really nice job out there. And he's played multiple positions, and he's I thought last week proved himself to be capable as a starter in that offensive line. I thought Alabama A&M really did some challenging things with the way they shifted and stunted and blitzed. And on the whole, we had a couple of negative yardage snaps in the run game, but we also were able to generate some positive yards rushing, and I thought protect the quarterback pretty well. So we're a work in progress. I expect that unit to continue to strengthen, but I do see that level of improvement, and I know those guys are prideful, and they're looking for more too.
When you see a mistake there, is it missing an assignment? Is it communication? Is it just maybe not being as physical as they're capable of being?
It's not necessarily physical. I think it's 2 things. One is those 5 guys have to work together, and so if there's any confusion in the 4-minute offense against Hawaii, I talked about this after the game or on the Tuesday last week. If there's a pressure that's coming and we know it's coming and we identify it, there has to be communication there to get all 5 guys on the same page. Who are we working the combinations to? And how are those combinations working together to climb and capture the movement? And when one of those 5 gets out of sync, and throw the tight ends into that too, what happens is you expose yourself to run through players, and so you can get off schedule. You can have TFLs in the 4-minute situation against Hawaii. We at times had guys ripping into the backfield. And that's more of a product of, are we playing with our eyes, are we communicating what we see, and are we on the same page? Last week, similar situations occurred. I think of a couple where, we were off by 1 guy, and again, there was a negative yardage snap created. I think of several where we did a masterful job at being on the same page and picking it up. I don't question the physicality of that unit at all, nor do I question the heartbeat. They have to play together, and when they don't, we leave ourselves exposed. When they do, we have a really good offensive line, and they'll keep gelling as the season goes.
Do you have an update on Braden Babst?
Braden was in a car accident on Friday afternoon, and he's right now recovering from that. And it was a scary situation where I'm just glad that he's okay, and he will be working his way back as his body heals up. But Braden's tough and resilient. He's dealt with a lot of adversity, and we're behind him in his recovery, and hopefully we can get him back sooner rather than later, but all in the time that it takes to heal.
Obviously, Cedric played in a different situation against a team that's maybe himself a little more playing time Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, we believe we've got three good ones, and Seti certainly, asserted himself on Saturday and is fighting for more. And so we see that. He's got good vision, good feet, good balance, and he can accelerate. And the thing that I've loved about Seti since spring is he's also good in protection too. He's a physical player, and he's a smart player. So we're anxious for him to get more and to continue to see him progress, but certainly, impressed with the way he finished that game out and, scoring his first two touchdowns and really having some impressive carries there.
Anything else?
Thanks.